Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm really excited for today's video. I'm going to be starting the Pan Those Eyeshadows series for 2022. This project was one that definitely just was not working for me in 2021 and kind of just like fell to the wayside or fell off track. But I'm really excited to be doing it again this year. I will say I do not have my spreadsheet completely up to date right now, so the way that we're going to randomly generate the shadows that we're going to be starting this project with is going to be a little bit different than how I generate going forward. Today I'll just be randomly generating 5 eyeshadow palettes, and then from the palettes I'll randomly generate the shade. And then I also have a 6th palette that I'm going to be working on, which we'll get into. But if you're excited for this introduction, stay tuned. First, if you have yet to subscribe to my channel and you like project painting content, palette themed content, or just chit-chatting about makeup, I would love if you'd consider subscribing before moving on. And other than that, let's jump into this introduction. Alright guys, if you are new to the Pan Those Eyeshadows series, this was a project that was created by Alexi. I will have her channel linked down below. Highly recommend checking her out if you like project painting content or just need inspiration. She always has like the most beautiful eyeshadow looks, and I absolutely love her channel. There are so many people who do this project as well. This has been going on for a few years now. I'm not sure how many, 4 or 5 years. So if you search the hashtag Pan Those Eyeshadows, you will have so much content to binge watch, and everybody does their project just a little bit differently, which is why I love this project. So this is a project that just like did not work for me last year. I was bringing way too much eyeshadow into my collection, not doing my makeup enough, or trying to test too many different eyeshadow palettes at a time. I'm hoping to slow down my eyeshadow purchasing a little bit this year so that hopefully I can make this project work for me. Like I said in the introduction, I am going to start by just randomly generating 5 palettes to work on, and then I'll randomly choose the shade after we get the palettes. And then for my 6th shade, I'm going to be doing 6 shades at a time, working towards hitting pan on the 6 shades. But for my 6th palette, I'm going to choose a palette, personally choose, not randomly choose, a palette from my palettes on their last 2 raw series, which I will leave linked down below, as well as my palette playlist. If you guys like watching just palette themed content, I'll have my palette playlist down below. But my palettes on their last 2 raw series is kind of like a chopping block style series on my channel, and I thought it would be fun to choose a palette that either wasn't getting neglected or I felt like focusing on, and then randomly choose a shade from that palette. So we'll start there. The palette from that series that I'm going to randomly select a shade from is my Nabla Secret palette. This is a palette that just collects dust in my collection, and I used to consider this a favorite, but I never reach for this, so I need to do that and reach for it. So I'll randomly generate a shade from this palette, and then I will randomly generate 5 more palettes that we will be selecting shades from. My mind is kind of everywhere, so I'm hoping that I got all the information that I wanted to. If I didn't, I apologize, but I'm sure you guys are not new to the Pan Those Eyeshadow series, so you get the gist of it. Let me jump into the Pretty Random app, and I have currently 151 eyeshadow palettes that are eligible. So we're gonna randomly generate 5 numbers. We get number 10, oops, 1 and 2, we're gonna just ignore 1 and 2 up there. Then we get number 36, number 29, number 144, and number 121. So let me quickly go see which eyeshadow palettes those correlate to. Okay, wrote all the numbers down so that I can write them like as I go, but I always like for you guys to be able to see like my genuine reaction when I see each of the palettes. I was trying to see if my lights, I feel like I look like so just dull in my viewfinder, but it is what it is. It's starting to get dark here. Okay, so number 10 is my Alter Ego Canyon palette. Oh, I don't think I worked on this one last year. Okay, that one's a good one because I feel like that's a nice neutral one. Then we have number 36, which is the Colourpop Pisces Quad, which I just included in like palettes that did not get used at all last year, so that is good. And fun fact, many of the palettes that I included in that video I have on my eyes today, so I went back and used a bunch of the palettes that I didn't use last year. 29 is the Colourpop Little Ray of Sunshine palette, which I also really like. Not necessarily the palette I would choose for this time of year, but we'll make it work. Palette number 144 is the a palette that I got in BoxyCharm that I'm not excited about. I might we might end up re-rolling for that. We'll see. And then number 121 is the Pat McGrath Rose Decadence palette, which is, wait, hold on. Yes, that is also a palette that I included in palettes that did not get used at all last year. How freaking ironic. Okay, I grabbed all of the palettes. The palette that I was considering re-rolling for is this one. This is the Trace Luce, the IM palette, but I'm not going to re-roll for it. I am actually going to randomly generate a shade because I need to decide if I want to even keep this palette. So this is a great way to kind of force me to use it and make that decision. But let's go through each of the palettes and randomly generate the shade that we're going to be working on. So we will start with the Nabla Secret palette. I believe there's 14 shades in this eyeshadow palette. Never mind, there's 15. So we're going to count across and we will randomly generate a number 1 through 15. And we get number 15, which is the black. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. We get number 5, which is going to be the shade Romeo. I do want to say within this project, I don't want to work on any black shadows or just like cream lid setting shade shadows, because black shadows I'm just not going to hit pan on unless I use it as a liner, and then cream shadows I can just use on my own and hit pan on. So if I roll any of those 2 shades in any palette, I'm not going to use it. But we randomly generated the shade Romeo. I don't have a clean hand to swatch on. Dang it. Should I swatch on my arm? Sure. But then I don't ever know how to like show. Oh my gosh. Okay, this is a disaster already. Really? Can we see that? Can we see that? There's the first shade. Okay, then we have the Alter Ego Canyon palette, and this palette has 15 shades as well. So we will randomly generate another shade between 1 and 15, and we get shade number 2, which is the shade Desert Sun, which is a really beautiful warm matte brown shade, which I feel like will go actually really well with the shade Romeo from the Nabla Secret palette. Next up, we have the Pisces in the Sky palette from Colourpop. This is a quad, not necessarily a palette, but I include my quads in this as well. So we're gonna randomly generate a number between 1 and 4, and we get shade 3, which is this cream shade. This looks like it'd be like a really easy one and done sort of shade, and I actually feel like, ooh, that doesn't have a ton of pigment to it. I feel like all of these shades could work to create a look right now, so I feel like I'm getting lucky with this. Do we see that? Next up, we have the Colourpop Lil Ray of Sunshine palette, which is an all matte palette, and another palette that I feel like is gonna go really well with the shades that we already have selected. So we'll randomly generate a number between 1 and 9, and we get shade number 1, which is a matte cream shade. So I'm gonna re-roll, and we get shade number 8, which is gonna be this really beautiful shade right here, kind of like a red toned brown. I do love this palette, so I'm actually really excited to get some use out of this. I feel like I could create such a cohesive look with all 3 of these, or all 4 of these shades. I'm like getting super lucky in all of this. Okay, moving on to the Trace Luce palette. I don't know how to pronounce that. Okay, there are 18 eligible shades in this palette. This is a very colorful palette, so I'm kind of worried about this one. We get number 11. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We get the shade Grateful right here, which looks to be a really beautiful shimmery blue shade, although I don't necessarily reach for shades like this all that frequently. Although, again, I feel like you could like make a separate palette with all of the shades that are currently, let me see if I can focus on this. I chose the worst way to swatch all these. All right, the final palette we have is the Pat McGrath Rose Decadence palette, which I already do have a pan in right here. So we'll just skip that shade when counting. We'll start here and we will randomly generate a number between 1 and 5. Okay, that didn't work. Hello? Okay, here we go. We get number 4, ooh, which is this shade right 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, the shade right here, which I do really like. I will say the shades in the Pat McGrath palettes, the pans are really deep. You guys, I got such a cohesive color story. Honestly, how did I luck out? Maybe like the panning gods knew that I struggled so much last year. They wanted me to start out with like an easy start. Okay, I'm gonna take a picture of this and I'm gonna post it right here since we did a terrible job at swatching and choosing like a easy way for me to show you guys on screen. So I'll post a picture right here, but I'm actually super excited about this color story. I feel like it's gonna be a really easy one to use. It's nice and neutral with like that pop of blue. I think will be a struggle for me to hit pan on. My other rules is going to be I need to use the shade 20 times, or it needs to be in the project for at least 3 months before I can roll it out, or I need to hit pan on it. And I'll give myself 3 vetoes throughout the year. So that's going to be how I run my panless eyeshadows. I'm considering doing like if I want to switch it up and do just like pan on every palette, or just focus this project on palettes that don't already have pan. I believe the only palette that has a pan in this project right now would be the Rose Decadence. So we'll see if I want to switch up the rules that way, but I'm very excited to be starting this project again. I would love to know in the comments below if you guys are going to be doing this project or anything similar this year. Have you recently hit any eyeshadow pans? Let a girl know in the comments below. Other than that, that is going to wrap it up for today's video. I hope that you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for sticking around to watch and for supporting me as you guys always do. I love you guys so much, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye.